All right, CJ Ramone, we are here to tell the podcasting community all about our brand new show, which launches on April 23rd, which just so happens to be the 50th anniversary of the debut album by the Ramones. What better date to launch? CJ says a Ramones podcast. So why don't we backtrack and tell everybody the series of events that led us to this very exciting moment as we prepare to launch this show. The Flogging Molly cruise, right, was the place where the seeds were sown.
Yeah. That was it. Although we had met before and had a bit of discussion on that cruise, I felt like we really had a real nice rapport on stage, and it was an obvious, to me anyway, it was an obvious choice when you came up with the idea. When you asked me about doing a podcast, I immediately said yes, because I felt like we really have a good back and forth flow, and everything that I've been through and seen, and wanting to put it out there, and you're the guy that gets me to dig deep for some reason, Matt.
Oh, bless you. Well, it's something I've been doing for a long time. And I was actually on a break from podcasting during that cruise. And I hadn't interviewed anyone in 6 months. And I'd really enjoyed the time away. And actually didn't feel any strong desire to return. And then we did that chat, a live Q&A on the boat. And that, for me, totally reignited my love of long-form conversation and human connection and musical archival discussions, and this show's going to be all of those and more. And I was so jazzed after our chat, and I just got the idea, like, why doesn't this dude already have his own show? I thought because of the legacy and the place that you have in the Ramones story, it's so unique. You know, you were the fan that became a member of your favorite band, and so you have this kind of dual perspective of being an insider but still that objective appreciation from the outside looking in. And so many of the stories that you have come from that dual positioning. And I think that's what makes you and your story and your connection to this band so unique and so special. And let's be real, right? The Ramones are such an important band, and yet there's obviously books and documentaries and information about them out there, but there's so much that remains untold, isn't there? And that's where we come in.
Yeah. And you know, the thing that I liked about when we sat down together was that I didn't feel like I was being interviewed. I felt like I was having a discussion with a friend, and that makes the flow of information so much more fluid. It just really makes it easier to sit down and talk with somebody rather than be interviewed by somebody. And I think that's, I think that had a lot to do with accepting your invitation to do it so easy.
Yeah, the response was immediate, and I was really inspired by how excited both you and Audra and Jess and your whole team were right out the gate. And so as soon as I presented the idea on the table, you were all like, when do we start? Let's go. And so behind the scenes for the last couple of months, we've been feverishly working away. And we're in quite a kind of cool position now because we prepare to launch the show, but we've already done the first couple of months of episodes. So we know what's coming up. And let's share some of the guests. First of all, we've spoken to a really cool mix of insiders, scenesters, creatives, musicians, artists, people that knew the band even before they were signed in some cases, and right up until the very end, and longtime friends of yours in some instances, and then, new people that we've both met along the way as well. Why don't you tease a couple of names, CJ, and drop some breadcrumbs?
I gotta say, when I saw the list of people, of course there were the people that I wanted to interview, but when I saw the list of people that you and Audra had put together, I was so impressed. I mean, to out of the gate to interview Duff McKagan, as long as I've been in the business and as long as Duff's been in the business, we had never met. We had never had an opportunity to talk, and I was so starstruck when we did that one that I ended up not not doing my job, which was supposed to be interviewing, but his stories were so incredible. And that interview, I think that one is going to probably be one of the most listened to ones because of the stories that he tells and how interesting his life was. But
And
yeah,
what a major star he is as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Rock and roll legend.
being part of the Seattle scene and the LA scene, it's just such a great interview. And of course, Kid Congo Powers, who is very much kind of the real Ramone style rock star, in that he really comes from the underground. He really comes from like the real music fans. And his story, and of course, after talking to him about everything that we talked to him about, we realized we will have to do a second episode with him to explore a whole other part of his life. We interviewed Ed Stasium, one of the engineer producers that worked on, arguably the Ramones' greatest records, including
the big three. He called them, didn't he? The big three.
Yeah. But he also did my first studio record with the band too. Today we've interviewed Tish and Snooki, the gals behind Manic Panic, who have an unbelievable. They own my favorite story to date about the Ramones.
And there's been some good ones. There's been some real good ones.
There have been some good ones, but they definitely own my favorite story yet. But everybody that we've interviewed to this point, I mean, it's really been. I think we're achieving right. To me, our goal from jump was to try to get some people on who could offer stories about the Ramones that may not have been told, or perspectives on the Ramones that had not yet been discussed, as well as the deep dives we're doing on the records, where we're going track for track, album for album, chronological order, and taking apart the records. Like, I really feel we have, at this point, we have really achieved everything that we've set out to do in each episode, because the stories we've collected, the history on the songs that we've done, picking favorites, inviting our Patreon followers to create playlists. I really feel like we're doing what we set out to do, because for me, new to this whole platform, I could have easily gotten lost, but thanks to your expertise and your experience, you've kind of helped keep the ship pointed in the right direction, and we've really been able to collect some cool stuff along the way.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure and an honor to be captaining the voyage with you. And, it began on a boat, so the ship metaphors seem apt for the journey moving forward. And we haven't even launched, and everything you say is so true. Like, we had a vision and a goal when we started the show, and we're already achieving those things. And now we're in a position where we prepare to share them with the world. And I'm just so excited to get this show up and running and out there. So April 23rd will be the launch date. The very first episode will be our deep dive on the debut album by the Ramones. We'll release that episode exactly 50 years after the album came out. Every week we do a side A deep dive, and then we invite all of our Patreon community to join us over on patreon.com/CJ Says, where all the side Bs take place. Excuse me. And then our first guest interview is Duff McKagan. After that, Slim Jim Phantom. After that, Harley Flanagan. Like, the hits just keep coming. And every interview, because there's not really a time constraint so far on the time that we've been getting with these people, we've been chatting to them for about 2 hours. And so we're going to put out 1 hour publicly for free everywhere so everybody can enjoy. And then we're going to stick the second hour over on Patreon as well. So, not to blow our own trumpet, CJ, but it's kind of like two podcasts in one because we're doing a musical archival deep dive alongside in-depth guest interviews. And we're sharing weekly hour-long episodes everywhere for free on all the podcast platforms. For the casual listeners that just want to kind of dip in and out and enjoy those stories and hear those insights. And then for all of the hardcore fans that want to really dig deep, Patreon is where it is at. And every single week on there, there's going to be bonus stuff, even outside of the Ramones, but peripherally related to them as well. We've done conversations on Tom Waits and Joe Strummer and Metallica, and we've had so many great chats already. And patreon.com/CJ Says is the place to go if you want to hear all the extra goodies and support the show. And I think all that's left for me to say, CJ, is thank you for entrusting me with helping you document, celebrate, and uphold the legacy of one of, if not the most important American underground punk rock and roll bands to ever live. And the fact that you were in them just gives me such a unique perspective on their importance as well. And I want to thank you first and foremost, dude, for embarking on this adventure with me. And so far, it's just exceeded all expectations, man. It's been a blast.
I have tried to, since we started this, I have tried to take myself out of the band member role and listen to this and look at it as a fan, because first and foremost, I'm a Ramones fan. And I could tell you, if I was a Ramones fan, this would be a dream. This would really be an opportunity to learn things about the Ramones. But to hear a band member talk about being in the band, it's as a fan, I'm like, because at this point, there's everything that could be written about the Ramones or put into a documentary, it's all there. But the only thing left now are the human stories, or the stories of people who were part of the Ramones world or affected by the Ramones world. Those are the things that haven't really been explored. And that's what we're doing. We're offering that up, as well as the, I always felt like I was the ultimate outsider in the Ramones world because I was a fan and then got into a band. And it was such a cool experience to be able to see them from inside the band while being a band member. And this is my opportunity to tell my stories and my part of it, as well as sit down and listen to the tracks with the fans and be able to throw that back and forth, and then interview some pretty influential people about their experiences with the Ramones. So from a fan's perspective, it ain't going to get any better than this.
Hell yeah. And as a long-time podcaster, what you touch on there is why this medium is so awesome, is the human stories, because films and magazines and these kind of more traditional media products have quite a strict framework of what you can fit in, because there has to be a narrative and acts and structure and all of those things. And so you have to follow a fairly formulaic, rigid overview and plan. Whereas this podcasting is free form, it's loose, it's in depth. You can just kind of veer off, sidetrack, bring it back around. And there's all of that in this show so far, like so much. The kind of thing where you pick up the stone, right, and you see what's beneath the stone, that's the level of detail we're getting into with some of these stories. And it's so applicable, I think, as well, like from a Ramones fan perspective. Yeah, but the stuff we're touching on is the human story of creativity and growth and triumph in the face of adversity and pursuing your passion. And it's really applicable to people of all walks of life and tastes in music, isn't it?
I have to tell you, one of my favorite things that we're doing, though, is talking about the songs individually.
the deep dives rule.
Oh God, because like when you get together, I mean, at least when when you're younger and you sit down and you listen to a record with your friends who are fans of a band, and you sit down and you throw all the stuff back and forth. Oh, did you check that out? Oh, did you hear this? Oh, that's a really cool bridge right there. And I'm like re-listening to the Ramones the way I did when I first heard them, when we sit down and talk about this stuff. And it really, I get really, really excited. I get really emotionally involved in it, because what I'm expressing as we're talking about it is stuff that I had in my head that I didn't necessarily get to express, to anybody talking about it. So it's kind of cool that we're doing this, me and you together, with the fans listening in, creating playlists. It's like being a teenager again. I love it.
We nerd out as well, don't we? We call it deep dive, and we dive deep. We get really in the weeds, and so far, so great. I'm having a blast, brother. Much love, much respect. And to everybody listening to this, put the date in your diary, April 23rd. Join us for the first ever episode of CJ Says. And please do subscribe to the show, follow the show, like the show on your favorite podcast platform. And do go over, there's already some episodes up on the Patreon page. So if you want to start getting ahead, you can listen to the very Q&A that you mentioned, CJ, the birth of this show. It was recorded. We've already put that up as the first Patreon episode. So if you want to hear the true inception of this show, patreon.com/CJ Says. And we do a deep dive on the band's logo as well. That episode is already up there too. So CJ, we're having a ball, man, and long may this beautiful transatlantic conversational musical bromance continue.
Let's go.
Sound checks at 5